Hello and welcome to my channel. This is episode 2 of Psamatips, which is a series of videos where I talk about singing technique and try to share advice from my own experience with you. For this reason, I think it's very important that you engage in the conversation in the comments and that you leave your questions and your ideas about the topics that I talk about in each episode in the comments, or just ask me questions on my social media, and that gives me new ideas on topics to discuss throughout the series. Now today I want to talk to you about support, and I think this is one of the most important basics in singing technique. Once you have a solid idea of support and how it works and how to make it work in your own body, it will help you so much in your singing, in all the other aspects of your singing. With support, I'm not just talking about using your diaphragm. I actually mean all the other parts of your body that are involved in the sound emission process. So I will also talk about breathing technique and tension in your body in general, and how you can have tension in the right places and consequently relieve tension in other parts that should not be tense at all. First of all, let's talk about the diaphragm, because that's the basic element of support. What is the diaphragm? The diaphragm is a tiny slice of muscle that's right below your lungs, and what it does when it's activated, it's that it creates this kind of tensed surface that supports the air in your lungs coming out of your body. And this is very important because first of all, it gives your voice a more rounded sound. It pulls out more color from your natural voice, and it just helps you when you're in a pinch. For example, you're going on stage, you're frightened, you're nervous because you're gonna be in front of a lot of people, and you're like, oh my god, what, I'm shaking, you know, and when you shake, your voice shakes with you and your breath shakes with you. And what the diaphragm can help you do, it helps you eliminate that shaky sound from your voice when you're nervous. So that's one thing you can rely on when something else in your body fails. Let me demonstrate the difference of a note with and without the diaphragm support. With the diaphragm. Now, I'm not sure the microphone will be able to pick that up, but you can probably hear that the first note without a diaphragm, and it was low, so it's not like a difficult note, but still you can hear a difference. It was flat, it was a bit shaky, a bit breathy, and I couldn't hold it as long as I held the other note, even though I took the same amount of breath. The note with the support of the diaphragm instead was more rounded, was more meaty, more full. It had better resonance, it sounded more brilliant, and I could use vibrato in it without sounding uneven or fake. Now, what happens when you activate your diaphragm is that there is this thing that it's called in jargon, in singing jargon, it's called appoggio, which is Italian for leaning on. So the air that you are using to produce the sound is leaning on the diaphragm, and it's like a trust fall. It's just supported by the diaphragm, so it doesn't have to worry about anything. You know by now, hopefully, what the diaphragm is, where it is, what it does, and how you can benefit from using it. But usually the problem that arises at this moment is, how do you find the diaphragm? You know, it's not something that you use every day, so you might probably not be able to control it right off the bat. And there are some, not really exercises, but some tricks that you can use to find it in your own body. Now, one thing you can do is to pay attention when you sneeze, when you cough, or when you have the hiccups naturally, because in that moment the diaphragm is activated automatically from your brain. You will be able to feel it moving when you are coughing, sneezing, or especially having the hiccups. The second thing you can do is this, you can do by your own. try mimicking the act of blowing out a candle, or light up a candle and blow it out. Or if you're at a party and the people whose birthday you're celebrating is really mean to you, you can ruin their party and blow out a candle. Usually when you blow out a candle, what you do is, it's a very quick, precise ball of air that you throw at the candle to blow it out. And when you do that, you can feel that the diaphragm is moving to push the bullet of air out in the right way. One more thing that you can do, you can use your epiglottis, which is that little membrane that closes up your tubes when you are eating, so that the food doesn't go down the wrong canal, and you close it up, you try to push the air out, and then you open it up all of a sudden. And when you open up the epiglottis and the sound comes out, the diaphragm will also move. It's very tiny flow of air that comes out, but you can hear that strong attack from the beginning of your throat, and that is probably another way that you can use. But I think in my experience, blowing out a candle was the first advice that I ever got, and the one that I found the most useful for finding my diaphragm and starting to use it on my own. What happens in the process of appoggio? It's not just that you activate your diaphragm and then whatever. You activate the diaphragm, and then there's a whole process. First of all, breathe in. Especially at the beginning, it's preferable that you breathe in from your nose, because you have to send your air to your belly, and breathing in from the nose helps you do that more than breathing from the mouth, even though at some point you will be able to do that regardless. Put the air in your belly, so you put a hand on your belly and you should be able to a small extent, feel that your belly is filling up with air. Then you activate your diaphragm, so appoggio is now active, it is on, and when you start emitting a sound, whatever sound it is, the diaphragm is still activated for the whole duration of the sound emission until the last drop of air escapes your body. What that does, it's not that it supports the sound as it starts coming out, so you have that beautiful sound that we discussed before. It's that it also helps you control the process of sound emission. So if you're singing a whole phrase, it will help you especially control how the breath comes out, how much air is coming out throughout the process. And what it does is that it will release the air at a very steady, regular pace. And that is why I could sing the supported note longer instead of the unsupported note. It's because when you don't support, the air just comes out all at once. When you support, you are able to decide autonomously how much air is coming out at any given moment of the sound emission process. Along with this, there's some other things that you have to consider in your body. First of all, it's position. I think position is really complementary to support. You have to usually stand up. It's easier, especially at the beginning, but the most important thing that you have to do is your torso has to be a straight line. It doesn't have to be crooked in any way, because then the passage of air is much more easier. There's no obstacles than it would have if you were leaning on a side or anything. Some teachers also advise you to keep your legs slightly parted, not just like this. Another very important thing that really makes a huge difference is, since you're not sending your hair to your chest but to your belly, as we said before, your shoulders really have nothing to do in this, so you can just leave them. They are retired, you know, they're sitting on a beach in the Bahamas and not a care in the world. So you can actually stretch before you sing to find that relaxed place for your shoulders. They just have to be straight, relaxed, not involved at all. Not a muscle in your shoulders has to move when you are singing or emitting a sound. Going out from that, you have the neck. Once again, this is another part where tension is a no. It doesn't have to be there at all. Because what happens usually when you feel tension in the neck is that you're not supporting. So that's kind of a check that you can do. If you feel tension in the neck, it means you're not supporting. If you don't feel tension in the neck, it means that you're supporting in some way. Usually you not only have tension here, but you also start doing this or this. If you're singing high or low, that's especially your mind tends to think that you have to go high because you have to reach higher and higher. And I will talk in the next episode about resonating spaces, why that's not true at all, that we will do some debunking. What you have to do is keep your head always looking forward. And just imagine you have a point there in that direction and you're just looking at it and nothing can distract you. And that will also help you relieve some tension from your jaw and neck area. Now the jaw is once again another part that tends to tense up when there is no support from the right places. And that is also one thing that you can keep in check on your own. Always, even just putting a hand and feeling how what is it doing? Is it tensing up? It doesn't have to. Now lastly, breathing. There are some exercises that you can do to improve the control on your breath and also your breath capacity, how much air you're able to take in and how you are able to control the release in a certain way. And you can do these anywhere, everywhere, all the time. And you can do them as part of your warm-up routine, whether you're doing a recording, whether you're singing live or you're on your own and practicing, because what this will do is it will stretch the part of your body that is involved in the sound emission, and it will warm up your vocal cords through the passage of good quality air. So the first exercise that you can do, you can breathe in and then breathe out while moving your neck, which means that you breathe in while you move to a side and you breathe out while you come the other way. You breathe in, stop, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And this will get you a bit accustomed to a steady release of air, because the motions have to be all the same duration and very slow. You're not rushing it. Now I have to warn you that if you do these breathing exercises, don't overdo it, because if you breathe too much and you breathe out too much or too intensely, you might get dizzy. So don't overdo it. Just do small steps. As long as they're steady and regular and not rushed, you will find the benefit on the long run. Now the second exercise that you can do, this is both for breathing and for diaphragm. Breathe in, always in your belly, and always keep a hand on your belly when you do them, so you can check whether it's happening or not in the right way. And breathe out while you have your teeth closed. So you breathe in and you breathe out like this. What happens here is that, except from the snake sound, to push the air out through the barrier of your teeth, the diaphragm is involved. And this is one more way that you can exercise the control on your diaphragm while also exercising your steady release of air. The next exercise that you can do is a bit of a combination of the two. Breathe in. Now you're not breathing out anymore. You count to 5 seconds and then you slowly breathe out. And this also helps you keep control of your air when you have to keep it inside your belly and then release it, not all at once, because there's a long phrase and you need to be able to keep the air as long as possible, for example. You can do this as one exercise, or you can do a combo. So you breathe in, you breathe out, you stop, you breathe out, you stop, you breathe out, you stop, which helps you measure your breath so that you release small chunks of it over time. Breathe in, breathe out. When you are breathing in and the apogeo is on, it's activated, the diaphragm is engaged, when you breathe out and you stop breathing again, it's going to be the diaphragm will stop the air, because that's what controls the air. One more thing that helps you regardless is doing sports. If you're doing sports like even just cardio, I think also swimming helps a lot. I do it and it helped me a lot with breath control, because these kind of sports help you have a sensation for your breath and for breathing regularly and efficiently and having the right amount of air coming out, so that you don't lose stamina, because that's what happens if you sing in the wrong way. You will simply fatigue your body more than you should, and you will lose stamina much more quickly than you would if you support it. If you build up your muscles, I mean, you don't have to do bodybuilding, but if you have a bit of muscle mass in your body, that will also be another tool that you can use for support, because usually professional singers, we don't really support only from the diaphragm. We also engage our abs all the way to the legs basically, and we also use the muscles in our back, especially people who do a lot of belting. The muscles in the back help a lot with projecting sound in the belting range, which I discussed in the previous episode of the series. And when you're in a pinch, even the muscles of your bottom can help you out, squeeze the extra chunk of air. One last thing before I finish that you can do to check if your diaphragm is doing the right job is to wash your teeth, then put a hand in front of your mouth and breathe in doing the appoggio, so using the diaphragm, and breathe out in your mouth, in the palm of your hand, sorry. What happens is, if you're breathing correctly, usually the air that comes out is not warm. It's not freezing, but it's not warm. It should be a bit chilly. So that was it. As I said before, stay tuned next week for the next episode, and I will talk about resonating spaces, which is another part of the singing apparatus that really helps you make a quick difference in a big way in the quality of the sound that you produce. As usual, leave any comments, questions. Let me know if you try these exercises and they work, or if you have other exercises that I might not know of. See you next week. Bye.